And this lesson continues our basic research skills with a focus on summarizing and paraphrasing and using your own words. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to define quoting, summarizing, and paraphrasing, quote properly, distinguish between summarizing and paraphrasing, summarize and paraphrase correctly. Your keywords are quotes, summaries, paraphrases, and the magic number rule. So this far, we've learned how to pick out credible resources. We've learned about citation. That means we're all ready to write our research papers, right? Wrong. You need to know how to take your notes in such a manner as you avoid plagiarism from the beginning. This is your best practice, and we accomplish this by creating reference citations when we first find a source, which we already know how to do, writing our in-text citations with each note that you make, which we already know how to do, and paying attention to how you're borrowing words and quoting, how you're summarizing and paraphrasing accurately while you're taking your notes. This is what we're working on today. You need to know how to quote, summarize, and paraphrase correctly before you start researching. That's not a question. That's a fact. So, quoting is borrowing the words straight from your source. You're not just taking the idea, you're also using the words. And that means you need to copy the passage word for word exactly the way it's written. Whatever you're borrowing, word for word, mistake for mistake, you copy it just how you found it. And then you put the copied words in quotation marks. And that shows that you borrowed those words. Then you need to use an in-text citation with your note. Make sure your in-text citation matches the reference citation you've recorded. If you're quoting in your paper, that quote that you put on your note card, you're going to need to add an extra step and introduce your quote, such as, according to so-and-so, then you have your quote after a comma. You still need to copy the quote word for word and put the borrowed words inside quotation marks and have an in-text citation that matches your reference source. But make sure you introduce your quotes in your paper. When you're summarizing, you are putting just the main idea and key points into your own ideas, and that's going to take a big chunk of text and reduce it to a much smaller version. And to do this, you're going to start by reading the information. Then you're going to list the important words or phrases. You're going to reread it and cross out any unimportant words from step 2. Then rewrite your important words. You'll then use the words from step 4 to write a sentence per paragraph read. So you will reduce the idea of a paragraph to a single sentence using only the important words. Make sure you have an in-text citation that matches the start of the reference citation to go with this summary, because if you don't, it's still plagiarized even though it's now in your own words. Paraphrasing is putting the passage into your own words. It's not the main ideas, it's everything from this passage. It matches length for length, evenly, with the original source. So to paraphrase, you would highlight the important words in the quote, list them in reverse order. So the last word you highlighted, then the one before that, then the one before that. That's how you're going to list them. Without looking at the original quote, you will then use the highlighted words, and they're listed words, to write a sentence that reflects the main idea of the passage. You do not have to do this in reverse order, but you may not do it from first to last. You can't do it in sequential order. So mix it up. Revise your new sentence using the thesaurus to put some of the words in your own words, and also for fluency, because it might sound a little weird the first time you write it. And then cite your paraphrase with an in-text citation that matches the start of your source's reference. That's paraphrasing and summarizing. They're both taking original texts and putting them in your own words, but summarizing is going to take a lot of text and turn it into a little text, and it's only the most important ideas, so it's significantly shorter. Whereas a paraphrase is all of the details that you were talking about in the original, so it'll be a similar length. We do need to, with both summarizing and paraphrasing, not only remember to cite, but also pay attention to the magic number rule, which is you cannot borrow 7 or more keywords in order from the source. That's plagiarism. So this is making sure that when you're summarizing, you have to keep the same order, but you need to make sure you've changed up the words. If they're big keywords, you need to make sure you borrowed 6 or less. In paraphrasing, change up those words and the order so that you are not plagiarizing. Double check that you have not broken the magic number rule so that you don't get dinged on plagiarism. And that's the end of this. Quoting, summarizing, and paraphrasing properly are skills needed for note-taking during research to avoid plagiarism. So you're going to start your research here soon, and you're going to make sure that you are summarizing and paraphrasing and quoting right, as well as citing and using credible resources from the get-go.